So I was already filming earlier as I unboxed this package that arrived from Lockhart. Halfway through recording the video and demoing the pomade, my phone runs out of storage and stops recording. I free up space, continue filming, and when I finish, I saw that the footage that I shot for the first half got corrupted. We're gonna move past that, no point getting angry at what can't be fixed, so I'm just gonna talk about Grease-All and All 2020. What's up guys, Zami here and you're watching Heavy Metal Pomp. I guess this is an unboxed video. I'm just gonna talk about what I got from Lockhart, which is the follow-up to Grease-All and All from 2017. I also shot a first impression on one of these pomades which unfortunately got cut halfway. I'm gonna talk about that a little later on and then cut back into whatever footage that's salvaged from earlier. Anyway, enough babble, let's just get into it. First up, let's just talk a little bit more about Grease-All and All 2020. This is their follow-up to the release from 2017. This time, they've decided to do a full homage to death metal. More specifically, old school death metal, blackened death metal, and my personal favorite, melodic death metal. What's also interesting is that all three pomades are different. Previously, what they did was just one formula in three different scents, but this time it's actually three different formulas. The old school death metal is classic goon grease, the melodic death metal is water-based goon grease, and the blackened death metal is a brand new unorthodox water-based version of goon grease. I also received this really cool poster of the Dark Throne spoof from the previous Grease-All and All. It looks really good. Before I get into each of these pomades, I want to talk about the label designs because I think that's a very key aspect to Grease-All and All. It goes without saying that I love the designs on these, but I also like the fact that they all look unique while still very much cohesive to one another. Each of these labels pay homage to not only the specific subgenres, but also certain bands. The old school death metal is an homage to death, blackened death is Behemoth, and melodic death is the Black Dahlia Murder. My only gripe is that the labels for the old school death and blackened death look kinda similar. Personally, I would have loved to see the label for the old school death resemble Scream Bloody Gore in terms of colors. I think that would have looked really cool. I also really like the green jars that they went with this time around. I'm pretty certain that this is a plastic jar and not a glass jar, which if it is, I'm definitely on board with. I think that the green really personifies the goon branding really well, and even though I'm generally not a fan of these type of jars, I think these look really good. Next up, I want to talk about the scents cause it's all brand new and it's nothing that Lockhart have ever previously released. The scent on the old school death is called The Philosopher, blackened death is Demigod, and the melodic death is Nocturne. If you're even slightly familiar with the three bands that I mentioned earlier, it should be pretty obvious as to why the scents are named that way. I've got the Lockhart's website on my laptop here so that I can read the scent notes. The notes in The Philosopher are bergamot, pink pepper, leather-bound books, oud, and incense. I really like this one. It smells really citrusy and bright, and actually the more that I'm smelling it, it actually reminds me a little bit of Sex Machine. I really don't get the leather and oud right now, but that might change as I'm applying and breaking down the pomade. The notes in Demigod are pineapple, blood orange, birchwood, jasmine, oak moss, and ISO-E super. And for this one, I mostly get pineapple. It smells really fruity and bright, and to be honest, I'm not super big on it. It definitely doesn't smell bad. I do quite like it. It's just not exactly my favorite. And last but not least, the notes in Nocturne are exotic spices, rosewood, cardamom, oud wood, and tonka bean. And this one has a very spicy and interesting scent to it. Like I said, it does smell spicy, a little bit floral, and maybe slightly woody. This one, I have to admit, definitely my least favorite out of the three, but that might change as I actually use this in my hair. Just purely based on these first initial impressions, my favorite out of the three, The Philosopher, for sure. But again, that can definitely change as I use these pomades in my hair and definitely get a more better feel of these scents. Now, as mentioned earlier, I actually filmed a first impression on the Blackened Death formula. Unfortunately, that footage is corrupted, so I can't exactly show you how it applied and all, but I'm gonna try my best to talk about it now and then cut back into whatever footage I have of it earlier. Like I said earlier, this is an unorthodox water-based version of goon grease which is completely brand new. I'm not gonna do a full review on it because it's a limited edition pomade, which is why I did a first impression and tried it out. It scooped out thick and required a bit of pressure, but it still came out easy nonetheless. It breaks down really thick and smooth and slightly sticky, which I think is nice. I also noticed that the scent isn't super strong as I'm breaking it down, which I think is great because it's not a scent that I'm super keen on. It goes into the hair really smooth and slick, there's hardly any resistance. And one thing I immediately notice is how much shine there is. I find that really refreshing because it's not a very common feature with most unorthodox water-based pomades. Anyways, at this point, I think I should be able to cut back into the initial footage that I shot, so here's past Zame with his hair partially done. I know it's still pretty early to tell, but right now, it kind of reminds me of the original formula to Templeton Tonic's Summit. I don't know, just that really solid but thick scoop, that sticky, thick breakdown, and seeing how shiny it is right now in my hair, it really does remind me of Summit, at least the original formulation to it. If this is gonna end up feeling like Summit, that's definitely not a problem with me. Speaking of Summit, I'm kind of bummed that they reformulated it, but I can see why it happened. So this should be my last scoop. This, I think, is my 5th scoop. Just gonna go over everything just to give it a really solid coat. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Really like the shine on this, especially if the shine stays. I'm probably gonna use this pretty often. I will say though, the scent, I can't really smell it right now. I'm still getting a lot of that pineapple, but even then it's definitely more in the background. Not really smelling it now. Definitely not a strong scent, which might not be a bad thing. Slicking it back, goes through smooth, just absolutely smooth. There's barely any resistance. It doesn't feel super slick, but I think it's slick enough for what it is. Let's just go and park right here. Right now all I can really think about is how good that shine looks, because that's not a common feature with unorthodox water-based pomades, especially seeing how most people just want a matte product. I'm really happy that this one has shine. It's a really nice medium shine, really solid. It definitely styles pretty well, especially considering how my hair's been set for like a few hours already. Still responding pretty good for what it is. I think this pomade definitely gives a good amount of control. I'm not sure what hold this is supposed to be. Let me just check. Okay, it's supposed to be a heavy hold. I don't really feel like I'm getting a heavy right now, if I'm being honest. What this really reminds me of right now is Lockhart's Medium, which, if anyone knows my preference, Lockhart's Medium is like my all-time favorite pomade from Lockhart's. Maybe even my all-time favorite pomade in general. So that's definitely not a bad thing. It's not as waxy as one would think a heavy hold feels like. Feels definitely quite slick, quite thick, and that's why it reminds me of Lockhart's Medium. Now, truth be told, I'm still gonna do an endurance test on this just to see how it holds up. Like, even though I'm not doing a full-on proper review on this, but if this stuff even holds up decently, this might be something I reach out for pretty often over the next few weeks. Really liking how it's feeling right now. I think I'm almost done. Doesn't look perfect, but again, my hair is not exactly in the best condition to be styled right now. But all things considered, I think it looks pretty good. I think I'm probably gonna stop fooling around with it. I think it looks good enough. Yeah. Definitely doesn't look perfect right now, but yeah, good enough. Good enough. So yeah, if I'm just gonna give a brief first impression on the Black and Death pomade, at least, I like it. Definitely reminds me a lot of Lockhart's Medium. Like, if Lockhart's Medium was turned into an unorthodox water-based pomade, this is a pretty close depiction of that. It's just really well balanced between like cold and slickness, and that shine, man. I think that shine is like a very key aspect in this pomade. I think that should pretty much wrap up my thoughts on Grease All and All 2020. Like I said, I'm probably not gonna do a full review on the Black and Death formula just cause it's a limited edition pomade. The old school death metal formula is just goon grease, which I've already done a review on. However, I might do a full review on the melodic death formula cause it's water-based goon grease and I've not reviewed it, and this one specifically is the most updated version of that formula. As of shooting this video, I believe all 3 versions of Grease All End All is still in stock, so if you're interested, be sure to get yours soon. I'm not paid by Lockhart to say that. I ordered this with my own money. I just think they're a great brand and I like what they do. Hope you like this unboxing first impression type of video. I might do more of these depending on whether I get anything interesting down the line. Do leave a comment down below. Let me know if you picked up Grease All End All or if you're going to. Like, subscribe, all that YouTube nonsense, and I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching.